Hello friends, welcome to a makeup look video, voiceover style, diving into recent favorites, old favorites, and curating I think 4 different looks that I do in this video, maybe 3. We're starting off with this B-roll just showing you the picks for each look, and again I will show these products as I apply them, but I just wanted to set up the initial inspiration and wanted to choose different foundations, different concealers. This was fun, however, to put together these looks and to choose the different makeup items that will be included. Okay, so I did 3. I had planned 4, but that was ambitious. Each look will start with this cocktail of skincare, and although I stopped using skincare, I do rely on it to prep my skin for foundation, and I went in with the Sourdough Essence and Peach and Lily moisturizer, back with the Auric because I recently purchased the Dior Star filter and I wanted to show a comparison here again between the 2 shades, and the Sunstone shade from Auric is more of a match for my complexion. The Dior gives a little more highlight, but I still love the Auric. And the advantage it has over the Dior is that it is completely fragrance free, which we love, especially for this allergy season. I apply that all around, especially on the cheekbones, and I realized I didn't have any earrings on. How dare I? The Hourglass Ambient Soft Glow that I placed here on a Danessa palette is an exceptional foundation. And I used my Tuckahoe Takumi foundation brush, Tuckahoe Goat Hair, to plop this on, especially on top of something like the Auric. I truly think this pairing elevates the skin, my skin but better vibes. And because the Hourglass is a soft matte finish, the Auric gives it a little more of a glow from underneath. And that was in shade 11, by the way. I'll have all these product details down below. Look who got a Prada brush from the event I attended at Nordstrom last Saturday. I know this is all synthetic, and I immediately thought of the Sonia G soft concealer brush, and I adore this little brush. I know it is a splurge, yes, but it is the perfect size for pinpointing, and here I presented the comparison. The Prada brush is a little bigger and it has more of a taper compared to the soft concealer brush. Both great, but my goodness, this brush is exceptional. And I went in with the Natasha Denona concealer R5 under eyes and NP10 that I placed here on the palette just to help with coverage points on the rest of my face. And this Prada foundation brush is just excellent. It's small enough but yet big enough to get the job done quickly, soft on the skin, and I especially like it here as I picked up NP10 from the Natasha Denona concealer to place a little more coverage on the portions of my face that need it without overwhelming the skin with product. Great for around the nose and all that. And I decided to hop into the Hindash Beautopsy palette. It's been a while since I used these powders, and I ran that across the brows for my brow pencil to stick a little more, and just a little bit on the under eyes and anywhere else I needed to set. And this brow routine that you'll see here in full length is what I do anytime I have a makeup routine, and I wanted to take you through in case you were curious about it. I just use this pencil, and yes, I did recently purchase the brow gel or the brow hold. I forgot the official name of the product that I recently purchased from the Sephora sale, but this is the one product that I primarily rely on. I like to brush down the hairs here to create that arch, brush the hairs back up to combine the product in with the brows, and just go in with any fillings I think necessary. And I repeat the same thing, and you see the base of my brow, how uneven it is, especially on this side. And this is what I primarily rely on the pencil for, to even out that base so it doesn't look as sparse. And I try to stay consistent with that arch and not give it more girth. Some light strokes on the front, and again, brushing down to create strokes on the top, get that arch in, connect it to the tail, and that's pretty much my brow routine, and it has been for a few years now. And again, this is in the shade 3.5, which is dead on perfect for my brows and my complexion. Speaking of complexions looking good, Vital Surgeon Skin Spark Blush Balm in Kindle, because this is the look that I'm using Mineralscapes on with. I thought this burnt peach muted shade was a great pairing with the Mineralscape color palette. just enough color to provide my complexion flush, but not to take away from the eyeshadow. And I applied this with the BK Beauty 109 mini contouring brush, and wanted to bring you in a little closer because I thought I was a little too far. And I continued to pounce this color near the center of my face since it's light enough for me to do that. It won't appear too blushed. Chromolux from Pat McGrath Labs in Lilac Liaison. And usually with the Chromolux, I like to place it primarily on the inner corner and half of my eyelid to set up this look. I wanted to rely on the metallic lilac shade to be the main point for this more muted smoky eye that we'll create with Mineralscapes in a bit. And I think the color I chose from Mineralscapes was Steel Ray, this shade here, which looks cloudy lavender in the pan, but maybe more of like a slaty gray blue if you place it on the lid, and next to something that's more lavender in tone. And I believe this is a Rephr brush that released during their holiday sets a few years back. Wanted to plop that entire shade down on my lid and work it in towards the crease to create a nice haze effect there, overlapping it with the Chromolux shade. Picked up Sun Dried with another Rephr brush, I believe this is the large 15, to finish the edges here and create that nice gradient from that slate cloudy blue into that clay shade. And I brought the Steel Ray shade under my lash line as well to connect top to bottom here. And continuing with, I think this color, yes, is a softer lavender shade, brushing that across the lower lash line to provide a little more smoke here. Now with the highlight, although I already have Lilac Liaison on my inner corner, I wanted to place this more antique gold on top to further illuminate the inner corners of my eye. I think anytime you layer shades, it just adds more dimension to the eye look. And refining my blend here through the crease, ensuring that both shades are well incorporated here, I decided to take on, I think is Lunar Rhythm, across the lash line. Now the great thing about Mineralscapes, and I'm sure you've already discovered this if you have the palette, is you can pair any of these shades together, any of them, and the look will be exceptional. And I wanted to introduce another color to my lash line, yes, to add a little bit of intensity, but also just to add another color, because why not? And I used my Tuckahoe Takumi brush to sketch that line across, just tapped it on, get the color on. Tanzito brush with this shade, I believe it was Sun something, on the cheekbones. Why not? Because these shades are, some of them are finely milled enough to be placed on the face. And I thought this was an excellent color and texture to be used for highlight. Now, of course, because the shades are close together in the palette, you have to be careful with any fallout, and a little bit of Lunar Rhythm fell into the Sun shade, and I was just trying to dust it off there. Finishing the look with Prada Beauty Soft Matte, yes, it's in the pop because it broke, in Caramel, with my Tau House lip brush because I am civilized and I wanted to use a lip brush to apply this color evenly on the lip. I thought this more muted cool beige brown would do well with the entire look, and I wanted to experiment by tapping on a metallic, but it was a little too dry for my taste, and I just kind of whipped it out and let the hair down, Ardell lashes on, and this is the first look. What do we think? I adore how this came out because I wanted to keep it overall cool toned, and why I picked that burnt peach shade from Phyto Surgeons to pull it all together so it wouldn't be so warm on the cheeks and then cool on the eyes. I wanted everything, at least the cheeks and lips, to be neutral so the eyes could pair well with everything else. And Lunar Rhythm on the lash line, I think a great way to introduce another color. And the Chromolux from the inner corner still shows well and adds beautiful highlight from the inner part of the eye. And this is just a still shot so you can see the look as it is. And now with eyes closed, oh boy, can't get enough of the Mineralscapes. Pinning up the hair again for look number 2, and we're starting off with the cocktail of the season, family. The Danessa Skin Blurring Balm with the Dior Star Filter Blurring Balm in shade 6, Star Filter in shade 3N. The advantage I feel the Blurring Balm has, especially now as we approach the summer season, is that it keeps the skin appearing soft matte and not as dewy. But if you do have dry skin, you might have to pick another product. And after I mixed them together, I just dabbed on the portions of my face that I need a little more coverage on. And the advantage 3N has over the Auric Sunstone shade is that I can use 3N as a highlighter. Sunstone is more of an all-over complexion enhancer shade for me, and I could get away with highlight, but it won't have as much of a highlighting effect as 3N does. The Lancome Teint Idole is still a classic product for me. I like the Natasha Denona, but this shade I think better. It's not as brightening as the R5, although the R5 shade was the recommended one from the shade generator when I typed in, I believe, 350 bisque. Defining neutrals, running that beige shade across the brows and under my eyes for a little bit of setting. And then we plopped on the brows. Wanted to try my Prada brush with the Velvet Pomade. And I do like how it picked up the product, but I do feel because of the brush size, it's a little too small, and why I decided to use BK Beauty's 109 contour brush instead. I think it's more appropriate to use on the hollows of my cheeks. It has more of that enveloped application, and I tapped on if I needed to. Why I think having a palette is helpful. If you needed to blend down any of the Velvet Pomades, you could just pick up a little bit of that product from the palette and help refine the blend here. And the 109 brush is goated for the Velvet Pomade pan because the brush head size is perfect. Kulfi Cream Blush in Sandalwood Swirls with my Mizuho CMP 510 synthetic brush, pouncing it all over. This reminds me of Vital Surgeons' Skin Spark Blush Balm in Inferno, but this has a little bit of a plummy hue to it, and Inferno a little more red, and I tapped this all over. I was generous with the application, and this on its own, the blurring balm, the star filter, the Groundworks and Harvest, and I'm going in with an cocktail time, the Natasha Denona High Glam highlighter. Wanted to experiment. I don't know, this didn't go so well. I was confused. I was unsure with how it will turn out. And the High Glam Balm, whatever it's called, works well on damp skin. And you saw I sprayed with my rose water because I needed my skin to be, I need a little more moisture, all right, for the product, the texture to look smooth. And once it does provide lovely highlight. And I did see Natasha Denona use her serum with the balm. Maybe the star filter didn't have enough fluidity to it. In with the Prada, but I wanted to slap on Desert, because Desert is an exceptional color from Groundworks, defining neutrals specifically here, just for enough shading on my entire eye to appear like I got something going on, a little bit of zhuzh on the lids, but I thought it would provide a great setup base for poetry. And I first went in with that peachy beige satin, so it could appear a little more contrasting on my lid, and I used my big Rephr brush here for the eyes, followed up with that beautiful rose gold metallic. My goodness, this is the shade that seduced me at Nordstrom, and I had to have poetry, and I slapped this on not only on the inner corner but on the inner part of my lid up through the arc. And I believe this is where I went in with the hyper matte shade, and I used my Sonia G Pencil Fusion brush. These are exceptional formulas. The Prada eyeshadows are excellent. They're excellent. The ease of blend, you don't need a ton of pressure here. You just have to rely on the product, on its fluidity, tap and sweep, and the shadow will go where you need it to go. You don't have to over manipulate it. You don't have to move the skin, and you can build this color up to where you like. I intentionally went in with a light hand because I didn't want the overall look to appear smoky. I just needed a little more contrast on the outer lid and through the crease, and why I used a pencil brush. This is where the fun begins. Okay, I wanted to use this emerald mint shade along the lash line because Cynthia, the Prada Beauty attendant who helped me that day, this is what she did, but I wanted to kick up the color intensity more by wetting the brush so you can actually see that green wing on my lash line. And my beloved Tuckahoe Takumi shadow liner brush, one of my most favorite shadow liner brush in my entire collection, because the way it easily stamps on shadow along my lash line and can create that sharp wing at the end with a powder, excellent. And I made sure not to over wet the brush. I just made sure I press the brush on the droplets I had on my palette, refine the edges with my Tuckahoe lip brush, and this is how the look came together. I'm so happy that I got that Prada eyeshadow. I am. I know we've seen these shades before, but man, just thrilled. And also thrilled with how the skin looks here with the blurring balm and the star filter, the Kulfi brush, even the Natasha Denona highlighter is all coming together. And I'm happy I went in with the brown lipstick because having a heartier, smokier color on the lip paired with that pop of color on the eyes, I think turned out beautifully well. And that leads us into our third makeup look. Cocktail time again. Suku Foundation 040 with the Prada foundation sample in MN60. I will have all these shade numbers down below, don't you worry, friends. With the Prada foundation, I initially said I wasn't impressed by it. I think it's because I needed to apply it with fingers or just make sure it was well blended into the skin. But the texture is phenomenal. It's fluid, it's soft. It almost takes on a tint in terms of the consistency. And when I mixed it with the Suku, fantastic. Went in this time with 360, the Lancome Teint Idole, which is a little more neutral, 350 that you saw in the last look, a little more peachy. Of course, had to use my Prada brush for this one. Tap that around to cover the small red areas around my nose. And hopping into Natasha Denona's Hyper Natural Face Palette, use my small Tonsido brush with the contour bronzer shades just to help build this cheek look with a little bit of structure there. And then I followed up with Mother's Color Bomb Stick. We haven't seen this in a while, and we saw that she added 4 more shades to the lineup. Here's the thing with the Color Bomb Stick. You either have to tap the brush directly on the stick as you saw there, but I think the best way to apply this product is in this way. Emulsify that sucker on the back of your hand and then take the brush, tap on your cheeks. That will ensure the most even blotch-free application, because when you use your fingers, you will run the risk of it appearing uneven, lifting foundation off your face. Tapping with a brush in this manner will help the color lay down evenly in a way that looks fresh and dewy. And I thought, let me see if this light pink color on top will provide that highlight effect. Kind of does. It kind of does. I think the Color Bomb Stick helps with the adherence. And then I followed up with what, let's see here. Oh yes, Viseart's new Paris Reverie with the lilac shade. I like to tap in the more pastel colors just to get more color richness from that application, and followed with the brown shade, as you'll see here, with a smaller Rephr brush. And usually when layering shadows in this way, I like to tap on instead of sweep, because that will make sure it adheres well initially, and then you can tap and sweep for the blend. This taupey bronze on the lid has just a little, just the smallest dose of rose gold. Gorgeous color. And I wanted to follow up with the peachy shimmer. This peach shimmer has beautiful brightness, and it's like an apricot, and placing that on the inner corner and up through the high arc of my eye, because you know how I love to pull that highlight higher through the crease, followed with this lilac metallic across the lash line to provide a little more haze and also sparkle from underneath. And the silvery lilac shade, lower inner part of my lower lash line, as well as a little bit on the inner corner, just a little bit of a tappy tap tap. And I'm loving how this is turning out so far. Ooh, remember this? Okay, you have to treat this like the Color Bomb Stick. I believe the best way to apply this shade, because it is grittier than her 3 dual highlighter sticks that are more smooth shimmery, to warm it up on the back of your hand first, tap the brush on that back of hand and then the cheekbones, because the finger tap will appear uneven. It will. You have to warm this up, and tapping with your brush I think will be best. This is, okay, Sparrow from Hourglass is the color of the year for me. With Peony on the center, forget it. It's too much to handle. I've been wearing the heck out of Sparrow. Exceptional color. It is like my #1 deep neutral rose out of all the rose shades I have in my collection. And we are off to slapping on these lashes. We're putting the hair down and get into this final look. Viseart metallics and shimmers never fail to amaze me. I love the sparkle, I love the shine, and they wear long. See how you gotta use the brush with the Color Bomb Stick and the shimmer stick? The skin's looking even, and everything about this look, even though the eyes are more lilac, neutral brown and the cheeks are giving you a little more heat. Because the Color Bomb consistency is lightweight, it doesn't take away from the eyes, and Sparrow with Peony on the lips is too much to handle. So thank you all for joining me on this makeup look brigade. I hope you enjoyed it. Trying out a new format here. Let me know what you think about this. Just relaxing and looking at me apply makeup while I comment from the other side. I'll see you down in those comments. Make sure you like the video, consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you on the next one. Bye, friends.